Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. I'm Dave Briggs alongside Kieran Chitry. We are here at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. Do you go cream and sugar? It looks like I'm straight black. Just if you ever need to get me a cup of coffee, I'm easy.
Okay.
Cream and sugar or just cream?
Yeah, cream and one sweetener. Doesn't
Cream and one sweetener, one cream? Because you got to know these things about your co-host.
3 creams.
Whoa! We are bordering on milkshake territory there.
I don't like the taste of coffee that much. I like the feel of
You're
caffeine.
the one in front of me at Dunkin' that has these like white looking, okay. Yeah,
that's kind of gross, actually.
All right.
I understand that.
But you know what I mean.
Yes, I do know what you mean.
You have to know these things.
It looks like a vanilla milkshake, not
co-host.
coffee.
Yes, precisely. All right, let's talk a little bit about the remaining big story in the country, which is Jimmy Kimmel's return. It was a monster hit for ABC, despite being shut out of more than 60 stations that are owned by Nexstar and Sinclair. Kimmel delivered the best ratings, I believe, in about 10 years for a traditional time slot. 6.3 million viewers on broadcast television. Compare that to his show averaging just over 1 million viewers on a good night. Did you watch?
I saw the clips.
That's how most people watch late night now, so you're not alone.
I did call this last week. I said when I was here that he was going to get back on.
And deliver a monster number. No, I did not think he'd be back on. So kudos to you. Thanks. I did not. That's a massive hit considering he was not seen, as we said, in 1 in 5 broadcast homes because of that blackout. That includes Seattle, Nashville, D.C., Columbus, Ohio, Little Rock, Arkansas. Viewers in those markets turned to social media to watch his monologue and helped him earn 26 million views on YouTube.
That's right. That's a lot. And what did he?
It's a massive number.
So you get way more in general of your clips being viewed on social media than the actual time slot.
Far more. And that's the interesting question about the future of late night. So despite threats from President Trump that he was going to go after Kimmel on ABC, Kimmel said he wasn't going to stop talking about the president, and he will not.
Talk about Trump more than anything because he's a bully. I don't like bullies. I played the clarinet in high school, okay? So I just don't like him. Donald Trump is an old-fashioned 80s movie-style bully, taking your lunch money. And if you give it to him once, he'll take it again. 2 things he loves, lunch and money, okay? He will take that peanut butter and jelly sandwich your mom cut in half like a triangle for you. He will gobble it up in front of your face, and then he'll eat your little Ziploc bag of Oreos, too. And he'll take the note your mother put in your lunchbox, and he'll read it aloud to everyone. Oh, look, Mommy loves her little boy. And then he'll smile with a bunch of cookies in his teeth. And he'll grab you by your nipples, and he'll twist them until you have 2 holes in your Le Tigre shirt because your parents couldn't afford an Izod. And he'll stuff you in a locker, and he'll stomp on your trapper keeper and slam the door. That is Donald Trump.
I would have to draw the line at stomping on my trapper keeper.
Is that where you say enough's enough?
I had the trapper keeper with the 2 puppies on the front.
Oh, I missed the trapper keeper. It sounds like Jimmy was, in fact, bullied. That hit pretty close to home there.
Yeah, he had a lot of specifics. Well, coming up later in the show, we're going to get reaction to Jimmy Kimmel's return, including Vice President J.D. Vance saying that the FCC commissioner's threat against ABC and Jimmy Kimmel was a joke. But first, we want to focus on the ratings with Carrie Flynn, media reporter at Axios. Thanks for getting up this morning and joining us so early. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, and I have my iced coffee, so it's like I'm with you guys.
Straight black, I believe. Let me see.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's my kind of gal.
No
all right.
cream.
I mean, no disrespect.
No, I get it.
No disrespect.
I get it. If you like cream, you like cream. It's hard to explain. Carrie, help us break down the broadcast audience ratings first. I know we talked about the ones that were on streaming and YouTube, but what about the broadcast audience?
Yeah, it was a massive audience, more than 6 million viewers for that airing. And that's a huge, dramatic bump when it comes down to the average being 1.4 million nightly viewers. 1.4 million to 6 million. Massive. And as you guys noted, that excludes about 25% of the local station. So massive when you think about that. But to be honest, I'm not surprised because I anecdotally am one that I'm not up at 11:30 necessarily watching late night anymore. And I'm part of a trend where a lot of us are not tuned in that late. So the fact that there was clearly this dramatic spike aided by the event dynamics, right? The controversy, the media attention, people were all tuned in real time wanting to see what Jimmy Kimmel had to say.
All right, so what's the YouTube number at? And give us some perspective on how big that is.
I was impressed to see, because again, I was watching in real time when he came back, went to see that they dropped his monologue on YouTube almost in real time, almost immediately. And in just, I think, the first hour, there was already 1 million views. So it's again clear that's where people's attention are, is that they can see it there. And back to those markets that it's not available. One of my colleagues was hoping to watch was in one of those markets. And the first thing I did was send her that YouTube clip, right? So she could watch it almost in real time. And so it's racked up now nearly 20 million views on YouTube. And that again is unique. I think the most watched clip that's ever been on his YouTube channel so far. And again, not surprising given the attention and people really wanting to see and hear from Jimmy himself.
The number I was watching was the Taylor Swift New Heights podcast, because that exploded.
Yeah.
That was a global event. She got 13 million in her first 24 hours. Jimmy blew by that number, and she has 23 million to date. Guessing he will blow by that number as well. That's some solid perspective there, considering she is the biggest star on the planet.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Well, I mean, yes, but I think it's a fleeting situation. We'll have to see.
That's a good point.
But his
Taylor
his
has staying power, as we know. Is this a blip for
Absolutely. Also, his numbers could rise again if we see Nexstar and Sinclair, the broadcast conglomerates, deciding not to continue to preempt. This is what they said. They said that that they're going to continue this pending assurances that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve. That quote from Sinclair. But do you know anything about whether or not they're going to eventually bring back the show?
No public deal is confirmed between Nexstar and Sinclair and ABC Disney right now. We did get statements from the networks yesterday. Nexstar said they're in conversations with Disney, but it was interesting with Sinclair. They required a apology. They wanted Jimmy Kimmel on his show to apologize to the Kirk family, and that's one thing I was paying attention to in his comeback. Is he did not say I'm sorry. He did not say I'm apologizing. He said that his words were perhaps misinterpreted, but he did not go out to say that. And that was one of their demands. So it is questionable how long that will last again if he's not meeting what they wanted of him. And
Boy, that's an odd demand. When I mean, speaking for the Kirk family feels very uncomfortable. He didn't apologize. He went way further than apologizing. I mean, I thought what he said was far more heartfelt, far more impactful than the words "I'm sorry." Like when your kid apologizes, but he's not really sorry. Like when I apologize to my wife and I'm not really sorry.
Yes.
What he did was far more.
However, it takes to say I was wrong. Whether you say I'm
He
sorry
wasn't
or
wrong.
I was wrong.
He didn't say anything incorrect.
But he right. So you're saying he didn't say anything incorrect. So
It
that's
was
not an apology.
mischaracterized.
It's not. But if I hurt your feelings, if I came
We might
in
have
today,
a debate
if I
here,
came in today
Carrie.
and I said, "Wow, you look tired from the weekend,"
Damn right.
and
I would say
it
you're
hurt
right.
your feelings. It
Oh
hurt
no,
your
you
feelings.
got to go way deeper than that. to
Don't
hurt
I
my
need to
feelings,
say
honey.
to you, "Hey, I'm sorry."
No.
Not if
No.
you misinterpreted what I meant by saying you look tired. That's unfortunate.
That is a proven
but-
fact. I look tired. Carrie, real quickly, any sense of how this might impact ad revenue? I mean, I would imagine Nexstar advertisers, Sinclair advertisers are furious. And beyond this, what do you think the future is for late night television?
for sure, that's what we'll see. People have asked, what will get Nexstar and Sinclair to change. If people are not wanting to tune into these repeat episodes of Celebrity Family Feud, which interestingly Jimmy Kimmel has been poking fun of in his monologues, both yesterday and the day before. So perhaps, again, that consumer pushback, the lack of ad revenue. We talked about the fact that the audience on social is blowing up. The audience on YouTube is massive, but that does not translate. Digital monetization, sure, it's strong. We see the rise of YouTube creators. Clearly, there's money to be made, but it does not directly translate into that linear ad revenue. So there is meaningful loss there. And that just speaks to that longer issue of the decline of attention in late night and decline of revenue. Jimmy and also Stephen Colbert, when they, when he was talking about what's happening to him, is saying it's not just him who's being affected. There is a team of 200 people who work for him. And that's part of the issue is like, that's a lot of salaries, right? And that's hard when you're not bringing in enough money. So again, that speaks to the
Yeah.
issues and really that late night is dealing with overall.
Yeah, and whether or not she was telling the truth, I'm not sure. But Miriam Adelson, excuse me, the former chairperson of Paramount, chairwoman,
Sherry Redstone?
Sherry Redstone, told Axios in an interview just the other day that the decision to fire Colbert had been made months prior and was strictly a financial decision. I'm not sure if that was the truth, but that's what she told Sarah Fisher. So maybe this
Well,
category is in deep trouble.
I'll just recommend one of my favorite TV shows is Hacks on HBO Max, and they have done a great job showing this tension. And it's actually interesting. Last night, I remember that Jimmy Kimmel starred in Hacks this last season. So a good content recommendation to you guys that really speaks to the changing dynamics of the media.
That I love. Appreciate the tip.
That's hilarious. It was really great to have you on the show, Carrie Flynn. Thanks for getting up and joining us this morning, media reporter with Axios. Well, we had some devastating weather around the globe. A rural town in Taiwan was left really ravaged after Typhoon Ragasa triggered a deadly flood. So far, 14 people are said to be killed in this, with at least 33 more missing right now. A mountain lake burst its dams, flooding homes, businesses, and farmlands. And these are just some of the scenes of the monster typhoon that ripped through the island nation. Rescuers had to break through windows and shutters to be able to get to some victims that were trapped, including elderly. And there were also more than 700 acres of farmland completely submerged.
The typhoon cast a wide net in the region. In neighboring Hong Kong, look at this. Video shows just how quickly a seaside bistro was completely submerged in the rising seawaters. Restaurant owner said his heart sank when he saw security footage from his cameras in his restaurant.
Yeah, they were saying the storm surge was 3 meters up. And as we saw from that video, there's really nothing you can do when that happens. With more on the typhoon, as well as 2 tropical storms closer to us in the Atlantic, we're going to go to AccuWeather meteorologist Alex De Silva. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, the typhoon out in the Western Pacific is finally starting to fall apart over Western China right now. Really brought a lot of devastation to that area, and in fact, it was one of the strongest we've seen in the last several years in that area. Luckily, really beginning to dissipate at the current moment. But if we switch back to the Atlantic, we're following 2 areas of interest. One has already developed into a tropical storm. We have Umberto right in here, well east of the islands right here. And then the other area of interest is actually crossing over the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico right now. This area is expected to move into the Bahamas and into the Turks and Caicos here over the next couple of days. And this is expected to become the next name on the Atlantic hurricane list, which is Imelda. And the question is what is the interaction going to be between these 2 cyclones right here? There's various different scenarios that can take place here as these 2 storms go to the north. So here's Umberto. We're expecting it to become a major hurricane sometime this weekend, and then likely turning out somewhere between the Outer Banks of North Carolina and Bermuda. But the question is, how will this other storm, future Imelda, impact the scenario here? And I think there's a couple of different scenarios that we can quickly go over here. We're going to be potentially seeing a rare phenomena in the Atlantic called the Fujiwara effect. And this is when 2 cyclones get within about 850 miles of one another. And if they're both pretty strong, they can kind of rotate around one another, which is a pretty rare phenomena in the Atlantic basin. It's not too often that you get these 2 cyclones close together. So here's scenario 1. If the storm to the east, Umberto, is much stronger than the storm that comes out into the Bahamas, Umberto might just absorb the other storm. The weaker storm just gets pulled into Umberto, and this is the better case for the United States, as this would suck all the moisture and winds towards Umberto and then out to sea. A more concerning scenario is more if both storms are a little bit stronger. Umberto's pretty strong, and then you have Imelda, which is pretty strong as well, potentially. That can allow the storms to remain a little bit more separate and then maybe begin to turn a little bit around each other. But anyway, this scenario would be a little bit more of a concern for the east coast of the United States, mainly up in the Carolinas area, as that could allow the storm to potentially push into that area. The timing of that would likely be at the start of next week. So I think everybody along the East Coast from Florida all the way up into the Carolinas needs to watch this setup very, very carefully, as it's an extremely complex setup. When you have two cyclones very close to one another, the tracks can be very erratic and they can behave very erratically. We could have this storm come in and potentially stall across the Carolinas. There's a lot of different scenarios that we're going to have to watch out for. So it's important to follow the forecast over the next couple of days very carefully.
Combined is called a
Fujiwara effect.
Well done.
Got it.
I do have a request if Alex is still with us for tomorrow. We need a Ryder Cup forecast. Biggest golf tournament on the planet. So for tomorrow, I'm a little worried about Sunday at the Ryder Cup. Millions will be watching U.S. versus Europe. And don't mess with my Ryder Cup, man.
They'll play in the rain. They don't care.
I don't think so. I don't know if the Bethpage Black folks would like that. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll deliver on that. In other news, 2 people are now dead and 1 person injured after a shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas. 3 detainees were shot. The suspected shooter is 29-year-old Joshua John. John shot from a nearby building, then took his own life. Bullet rounds that were found near him had, quote, anti-ICE messages. The Department of Homeland Security is calling the shooting an attack on ICE law enforcement. A similar attack happened in July at a detention center near Dallas, where a police officer was hurt. President Trump blamed Democrats and anti-ICE rhetoric for the attack. No doubt attacks on ICE agents, to some accounts, are up 1,000%.
Well, it's also time again where we talk about the possibility of furloughs that could loom should the federal government shut down. This year, though, those temporary furloughs could end up with workers not returning at all. White House has asked agencies to prepare layoff plans. This goes beyond the traditional shutdown furloughs protocols. Agencies also must notify the employees that are affected. The cuts target programs that are not administration priorities. There's no word on when they may happen, while Democrats and Republicans are still battling out the budget. Funding deadline is actually just 5 days away, though.
Yeah, and you're going to recognize this name if you watch me. Kalshi, who is a betting markets website. This really takes the temperature of the country. 64% chance the government shuts down on Wednesday. The betting markets tend to be more accurate than polls going back all the way to 2016.
I know, but I feel like fool me. We used to cover this story all the time, and rarely looming shutdown all the way up, and then it's like an 11th hour reprieve. Yeah. They've managed to cobble together something.
This feels pretty standoffish, to say the least.
I can't bet during a live program here.
I'm going to go yes. 64%. I agree with them. Just days after a former Trump personal attorney was appointed to investigate his foes, there are reports former FBI Director James Comey could be indicted. The former U.S. attorney for Virginia quit after Trump threatened to fire him for not moving on Comey and others. Halligan could present charges as early as today, but a grand jury decision is uncertain at the very least. This is a very flimsy case, legal experts tell me. The case focuses on whether Comey lied to Congress, specifically Ted Cruz, in the 2016 Trump-Russia investigation about whether or not Comey authorized a leak to the Wall Street Journal. Let's step back a little bit. First, this is about the statute of limitations expires next week.
Yeah,
so that's why they feel like they got to move on this. But almost the entire narrative of Republicans in the Biden administration was that Biden was weaponizing the Department of Justice against Donald Trump. Yeah. And now we are literally seeing Donald Trump force the DOJ out of their independent lane, tell them what to do on social media and to lock up his opponents.
I think
this is terrifying.
I think that it's whatever party's in power, they're going to do it to the other party. That's what just is sickening in general about our two-party system at times. It's the worst thing in the world when it's happening to you, and then it's, hey, not that bad when it's not.
I agree, it's bad either way, but we had never in modern times, certainly not under Joe Biden, had the President of the United States tell the DOJ what to do in the light of day on social media.
That is a unique Trump tactic. But behind the scenes, I think a lot of similar shenanigans were going on.
Wow. We'll agree to disagree on that one, my friend.
Connecting America is just getting started. Up next, All Is Not Well on the Great White Way. We're going to take a look at why musicals are having a tough time on Broadway. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connecting America. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, love him, right?
Legend.
The bow tie, the whole 9 yards. Well, he received his Hollywood star on Monday on the Walk of Fame. And they recognize, well, Nye recognized the people who have influenced his career, who supported him throughout his journey on Instagram. And there were a lot of speakers at his ceremony, including NBA star Jaylen Brown of the Celtics. He said that that Nye is who made him fall in love with science and get really interested in that. And comedian Joel McHale and motivational speaker Ross Schaefer. So Nye hosted the Emmy Award-winning show Bill Nye the Science Guy. That was from 93 to 99. He got a ton of Emmys, by the way, like 20 or something. Oh, 19, there it is. And 7 himself. Before that, by the way, he was an engineer at Boeing. So his credentials hold up. And he was a comedian.
Just reminds me of a better time, you know, when we watched shows that weren't so divisive and they were educational.
Yeah.
Do
you remember Beaker from Sesame Street?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He was the original science guy, the poor thing.
All right, we welcome to the table our good friend Lee Sheps, because a recent New York Times article declared the Broadway musical is in trouble. The story looked at how, since COVID, only 3 new musicals, MJ and Juliet and 6, have recovered their investments. That's it, just 3. Meanwhile, about 90% of new shows have flopped and fewer are planned for this season.
And to break it all down, we're joined by our Broadway reporter, Lee Sheps. So the Broadway musical, much more very expensive, right? Huge overhead and all of that. So it is hard for them to succeed.
Well, it takes a lot of money to put on a Broadway musical, multi-millions of dollars. And if the audiences aren't going to the show and buying advance tickets, well, then the producers can't run the show on Broadway anymore. That's the biggest bottom line of that story. And the headline is the Broadway musical in trouble? Well, that is a play on words from The Music Man. Well, you got trouble, my friends, in Ripper City.
How is The Music Man doing?
Well, The Music Man, it's not playing anymore. It played for a while. That show did recoup its investment, I think. Did it? I don't know. Well, actually, that was post-pandemic.
I heard Lion King.
That was a good show.
Lion King as well does well still. The Wizard. No, wait.
So The Lion King is doing well. Moulin Rouge is doing well. Aladdin is doing well.
Yes.
And you know what a lot of people are seeing?
Older musicals are doing fine.
Because those are the big shows that people want to see and that they know of across the country. Mm-hmm. For example, another big show that's doing really well is the 2024 Tony Award winner, Best Musical, The Outsiders. Why? Because it's a book that everybody knows. The Great Gatsby.
Everybody still has to read it.
Everyone has to read that.
And I was wondering about that because I saw The Great Gatsby and The Outsiders. My daughter wanted to see both of those. The sets were much more minimal than what you'd see for a Lion King. I mean, so does that help them in the fact that they don't have as much to do?
Well, the cost isn't there, right, as much for as lavish of a set. But you make an interesting point about the set. One of my good friends recently saw a show and she said she didn't like it. I loved the show. I was obsessed. It was a very New York City niche show. She did not like it because there was no sets and no costumes. So she wasn't running home to her friends to tell her to go. And a lot of it is word of mouth, right? Oh, I love The Lion King. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Aladdin. You should go. You should go to The Gatsby. You should go to The Outsiders. So the other shows last season, there were 14 new musicals that opened and then 4 revivals that opened. Only a handful still remain. Death Becomes Her is still playing. Mm-hmm. Maybe Happy Ending, which won the Tony Award, is still playing. Just in Time is still playing and doing phenomenal. But there were shows like Boop and Smash, which I loved. I saw Smash twice, but unfortunately the show didn't last.
Mamma Mia, I know, is doing very, very well, and I can't wait to see that one, as I've made no secret about. So it was a massive number for Broadway last year. If musicals aren't the thing, what are people paying to see?
Dave, we've talked about this because last year's box office numbers were bigger than the 2018-2019 season. And here's one word for the reason why: plays. People are flocking to go see these Hollywood A-listers star in these limited plays, right? Last season, we had Othello, we had Glengarry Glen Ross, we had George Clooney in Good Night and Good Luck. Yeah. And producers are banking on these Hollywood stars who can do plays. Not everyone can do a musical, but you can do a play to see, and that's where we're seeing the numbers. But I don't want to discourage people from seeing a Broadway show because those gross numbers and those ticket prices were so high for some of those shows. Remember, last season, that was the big headline, that the ticket prices were $800, $900. Well, I was looking at the box office average ticket price for a lot of these shows, and they were in the low 100s. So it's just select these high demand shows that maybe have that high premium ticket.
That's not the price for Mamma Mia. I got to put you on the spot about one musical I've been waiting years for, my favorite movie of all time, The Greatest Showman. When is that going to come to Broadway? This would be the greatest Broadway musical ever.
It will be a great Broadway musical. Pasek and Paul, they have an EGOT. That's who wrote The Greatest Showman. I wanted to interview them a few months ago. That didn't happen. Hopefully I will get that interview. But I know they are working on The Greatest Showman, and they are also working on La La Land, the musical, as well.
All right. The Greatest Showman would be super cool if they had the trapeze and they were able to.
One with Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron.
That'd be fun.
And
just think of
probably
that
not
circus,
Zendaya.
right?
She's probably a little too big.
Think of the circus, as far as and what that would look like on a stage, and I want to talk about this year too, if we still have time, because we're talking about ahead. This and what this article is also talking about in the Times. As I said, there were 14 new musicals last year. This fall, so far, we only have 2 musicals. One is The Queen of Versailles, which we've talked about on the morning show here. That's starring Kristen Chenoweth, and she's playing Jackie Siegel. She's a real person. This story is based on a documentary from the housing crisis in 2008. She went to build this mega mansion, almost like the Versailles, and then there was the housing crisis and everything, fell apart. And then the other new musical is Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York. So it is a transfer from the West End, and it stars two people. So those are the two shows of the new musicals this fall. We don't know what's coming yet this spring. There are some rumors about the Dolly Parton bio musical, which was playing in Nashville this summer. Also Purple Rain, which is based on, Prince's life, which is getting an out-of-town tryout in Minneapolis in a few weeks. And so those are two that maybe will be vying for a spot on Broadway this spring.
All right, we'll wait and see. Thanks so much for joining us again.
Nice
to see you. Up next, it's pregnant moms versus the Trump White House as the Tylenol on social media craze. We'll show you coming up. Also, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Connecting America, coming to you from the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. I just have to say very quickly, Dave, that it's raining and humid out, right? And
it's a horrible drive
I just
here.
want to apologize for the fact that
all this. You look gorgeous. Knock it off.
All this, okay? It's way easier to be a dude.
Are you fishing for compliments?
You wander in.
You look
I just
beautiful.
know that my mom's going to be like, "What happened to your hair, sweetie?" As soon as I mean, that'll be the first thing she says when
no one
I get
out
off
there
the
is
show and
thinking
call
that
her.
other than your mom.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Well, two different social media trends have popped up over President Trump saying that Tylenol use during pregnancy could be linked to autism. First, liberal pregnant moms going on TikTok and taking Tylenol on camera to defy the president. Trump claimed acetaminophen may contribute to rising autism rates, although experts say there is no proven link that it causes autism. Some of the women posting say they'll take their medical advice from their doctors and not their politicians.
Then there's the other side, retweeting a post from Tylenol from 2017 that said, quote, "We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today." The White House, Health and Human Services, and others reshared the 2017 post with HHS commenting, "No caption needed." In response, Tylenol's parent company says the old response was incomplete and insists guidance has not changed, and saying acetaminophen is the safest option for pain and fever throughout an entire pregnancy. Brings us to our question of the day. From what you have heard since the president's warning, will you consider taking Tylenol during pregnancy? Yes or no? There is a code there on the right side of your screen. Scan it and cast your vote. We'll check in throughout the hour. We did have Dr. Pyle Coley here on the program, who said she not only would take Tylenol if she were pregnant, she continues to recommend it to her patients. Take that for what it's worth.
All right. Well, we want to hear what you have to say about it, so please weigh in, and we'll bring you the results a little later. Mark Bonamo is joining us now to talk about this next story having to do with a marked drop in crime in one of the cities in the great state of New Jersey.
Absolutely. In Camden, New Jersey, a small city right across from Philadelphia, a almost miraculous development has happened. There's been no homicides this entire summer. This is the first time since the early 1970s this has happened. And to kind of put it in context, Camden's been a struggling city for a long time. A lot of crime, a lot of post-industrial decline. Crime is somehow bottomed out because essentially you have more community engagement with the police. You have social services being applied with the police force. A lot of times police have to be social service agents themselves. Now that burden's taken off them. And also the use of drones.
How?
Well, drones, of course, is always more controversial.
Yeah.
Drones are being used more and more by the police, but the Fourth Amendment of the
Privacy
Constitution
concerns.
actually unreasonable, searches and seizures from the Fourth Amendment, the reasonable right to privacy. So there's obviously some concerns. Now, at the same time, people are overall happy. Camden's municipal police force was taken over by the county in 2013. There's been a 64% drop in homicides in that time. But
wow,
people have to decide, okay, what's the price we're willing to play for less crime?
I remember
that is a great question. What?
Do you remember when New York City was introducing that eye in the sky in some of the neighborhoods, or it was just like it was just basically this huge tower, and it had cameras that could rotate all around. That was still, I guess on public streets. I guess you could make the argument.
True, but I think
the drone in the backyard is that's a little.
It's a little dehumanizing. A lot of successes in cities you saw in New York in the 80s and 90s. You've seen in Minneapolis with Brian O'Hara taking over the police force after the murder of George Floyd. That type of community outreach, interacting, the classic beat cop on the ground, a lot of times it goes a lot better in terms of building the relationships with the community that overall leads to a drop in crime.
Bottom line is you can reduce crime without the National Guard. Who knew?
Fascinating.
Did they increase spending on police force? Did they increase the number of policemen?
What they essentially did was when they moved to the county police force, that cut a lot of the cost for the police. New Jersey is infamous for having 1 million municipalities. When you kind of regionalize to a county force, it makes things a lot more efficient.
I think it's interesting. It's a very young population. Their median age is pretty young, like in the high 30s. So, there were people talking about the fact that other nuisance crimes, not that obviously murder being the most serious, but thefts, burglaries, assaults, all of that down as well. And a lot of people who were sharing when asked said that they're very thrilled about that.
Right. And these are the type of things, quality of life crimes, makes you want to live in a city or not live in a city. Here's Camden in the shadow of Philadelphia. Same type of geographic position as maybe Hoboken and Jersey City is to New York. Look what's happened to Hoboken and Jersey City in terms of revitalization. That same type of hope still lives in Camden. It's been going on for decades. Maybe this is the way they turn the corner.
Is there anything you think could be adopted nationally in other cities, like, say, Detroit or Chicago, that worked there that could work elsewhere?
Again, it's the beat cop on the ground. If there's a drone in the air or a cop car just driving by, how does that interplay with the community and the police going to happen? How are people going to think the police are not some sort of occupying force out to get you, but someone you can work with to make your community better?
Good stuff. Really interesting story. Mark Bonamo, great to have you here at the table. We're going to have you check in with some diners a little bit later on in the program. Go get some breakfast meanwhile, okay?
Why not?
Up next, Netflix making some big moves in New Jersey with $1 billion invested. We'll tell you about it when we come back and what's the impact. Coming soon to New Jersey, lights, camera, action. That's all thanks to Netflix. The streaming giant just dropped $1 billion investment transforming the former Fort Monmouth Army base into what could become the East Coast's own mini Hollywood. Could be a game changer for the real estate market when it opens in 2028.
And joining us now is realtor Mark Lawrence. Very exciting news about this. So how big of a boom could this bring to the region?
A lot, actually. I mean, $1 billion investment by a major company like Netflix, which is bringing 12 sound stages to the Monmouth area, which means a lot of jobs, a lot of money spent down there. Celebrities, that's the exciting part for some people, and it means higher prices in the real estate market.
Yeah, so they do have a lot to consider when it comes to what areas to use. This was just pretty much sitting there, like just asking for something to happen at this huge facility.
Yeah, the base was decommissioned in 2011, so it sat for more than 10 years. Netflix got its eyes on it and said, hey, listen, this is a place where we want to put resources, plant our flag, and build some studios there. And with that, could come some celebrities. Traditionally, the Jersey Shore, Monmouth County, home of Bruce Springsteen. John Bon Jovi actually is in the Red Bank, so a little bit of rock and roll. Queen Latifah grew up in Colts Neck, actually. So, that's exciting. It has its roots there. So it's not a place that, if someone's saying moving to the middle of Idaho, not that there's anything wrong with Idaho, but, Jersey Shore, close to New York City as well.
So good news, bad news. What does this typically mean for real estate values all around the new Netflix HQ?
Mm-hmm. So I spoke to actually some realtor friends yesterday just to do some research further on it. And they say that listings are moving quickly, that a lot of them are getting multiple offers and going over the asking price. So you're starting to see that more, in the area. And that's a pretty big area. Monmouth is actually a large county, not far from here. And it's got, beach access, which is really nice. Rumson traditionally is a very expensive community, but there's other communities there too, like Asbury Park, Long Branch, which has been up and coming for a number of years. So, definitely, I think the houses are going to see.
When I say good news, bad news, if you're wondering, the bad news side of this is a lot of people that have been there for 20, 30, 40 years can't afford to stay there any longer because their property values jack up and therefore their taxes do as well. So they're kind of forced to sell. I've seen that in my own town, which is, again, the double-edged sword, too.
Right. Well, the cost of living right now, I was talking yesterday with a realtor friend. He's got an entry level listing, for 1.6. So now, if you're a first time home buyer, you got to have a high paying job to afford that, and have some money in the bank because you got to put some money down as well.
All right. So what's on the market now?
So on the market now, one that's been on the market for about a year, which is pretty amazing, and maybe now there's a celebrity who wants to buy it. There's a Colts Neck equestrian estate, and that one is it's got 160 acres of land. It's been on the market for $27.9 million. It's 25,000 square foot home.
What was the number? 27.9
million. They think they lowered the price a little bit since it first came on the market.
Who used to own? Was this a private residence or?
It was a private residence by the Vukovic family. They, obviously they like their horses because I think they have a stable, for horse breeding, training. So horses are a very important element of that. Colts Neck in general has a big horse. Element. I think Bruce Springsteen has a home that his daughter Victoria, I think, trains for her horse jumping. Jessica. Thank you. Jessica. So Jessica trains, for horse jumping there. So, that is a beautiful home that somebody will be lucky to be living in. I don't think it's going to be any of us.
The K-pop Demon Hunters really ought to move in there. That's the biggest celebrity on Netflix. They're not real, but
that could be. Yeah,
they're the only ones that can afford that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that could definitely be. In Rumson, their house for about $4.7 million on the market. That's kind of a regularly priced house in Rumson. And my friend Gianni Augusta's got a home that just came on the market for $1.599. Also in the area, 5-bed, 3-bath, about 3,500 square feet. So again, that's the entry level now.
Jeez.
And Netflix seems to be having a positive effect for our sellers, but existing homeowners and buyers are going to have to reach deeper into their pocket now.
What about infrastructure in terms of the roadways and travel to and from? What are they going to fly into Newark or?
I believe that they would fly into Newark and drive down to the Jersey Shore area. It's not that far a ride. I think Newark is exit 14. You get down the Jersey Shore, you come over that that causeway that's around exit 10 or 11. Now we're talking about Jersey and exits.
But it's different than a Hollywood soundstage just showing up there.
Maybe pretty soon, right? They'll have a private, airport around there. That oftentimes comes with those types of investments by companies like Netflix.
Yeah, a lot of private jet use. Does this have any impact on local businesses in the area?
Definitely. Again, more jobs, more people in the area. I think they built a great sports bar, I heard, down there as well. There's going to be an outdoor, element to it. 1,100, acres is a large piece of land. So it's going to have a lot of different elements in addition to the sound stages.
Very interesting story, Mark. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciate that. Get yourself a piece of real estate over there for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks for being
Everyone
here.
An iconic toy store is making a comeback just in time for the holidays. Toys R Us is planning to open 10 new flagship stores, as well as 20 seasonal holiday shops by the end of the year. Remember Jeffrey? That's
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Love me some
Toys R Us
Jeffrey.
filed for bankruptcy back in 2017, sold the company in 2021, and several locations are confirmed, including there's going to be 3 in California, there's going to be 1 in Colorado, in Iowa, Maryland, and Nebraska. They have it at like the superstores, like the Mall of America and the American Dream in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a location at Chicago and Dallas's Fort Worth Airport.
I'm very surprised. I mean, it's Amazon, right? Like, do people still go to
I
to
just
toy
loved
stores?
the whole idea of a toy store when I was little, though, because
We
my
did.
parents let me they wanted to go shop at their
Because
boring
you could
stores.
see
Yes.
what you want
Yes,
instead
and I
of
could go in there
scroll.
for hours. Yep.
It's very surprising to hear a brick and mortar revival of any kind, though, in this day and age when we order everything to our door next day on Amazon. But I'm happy to see it. Love me some Jeffrey as well. All right, Dunkin' Donuts is brewing up something big to help fuel your mornings, introducing the first of its kind coffee alarm and sunrise experience with the company Hatch. Love this. The coffee alarm, called Brew and Renew, will have sounds like beans tumbling and espresso steaming and pouring a fresh cup with uplifting music. It'll be available through a Hatch Plus premium subscription on Restore 2 and 3 devices, but it needs that smell, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like, can they pump the smell?
Well, you can conjure it, but so you have to have the device already, and then that'll be one of the new. Yeah.
I love Hatch. Hatch is a really cool company, and we all
You
like
have
some
one? Do you
Dunkin'.
have
I
one?
do have a Hatch. Yeah, I do
Does it wake
anything
you
to
up
try
slowly?
to improve
I know.
my awful sleep. All right, connecting America's fitness correspondent, Jenna Wolf. She has an easy at-home workout routine you can do while you wait for that morning coffee.
Greetings from my relatively small kitchen. That's okay. I happen not to have 60 straight minutes today to do a workout. It is a particularly busy day for me. I don't even have 45. Frankly, I probably don't have 30. What I do have is a desire for some coffee and some mean hunger pain, so I'd like to make some breakfast. Now, while I'm doing all those things, I could easily pick up my phone and scroll aimlessly. Or what I could do is fill those 15 minutes with 15 minutes that I most likely won't find later on in the day. Okay? Follow me. Here we go. But Jenna, you don't have any shoes on. That's okay. But Jenna, you don't have any space. That's okay. But Jenna, you don't have any equipment. But Jenna. I got you. It's all good. 15 minutes, very little space while your breakfast is being made. Let's go. First up, coffee. Coffee. Very important. While coffee is being made, I got 5 minutes to work with. So I'm going to give you 5 exercises. You're going to do 1, minute 1, minute 2, minute 3, minute 4. All right, here we go. Minute 1, right? Start your clock. Here we go. I want arm swings. You're like that? Yes, I'm like this. Get some blood flowing in those arms. Move them around a little bit. You've been in one position all night. You're going to do this for a full minute. Minute number 2, we're squatting or sitting down in a chair. That's it. I'm just squatting nice and easy for a full minute. Wake everything up. Take your time on this first round for a full minute. Minute number 3, coffee's starting to brew. I got push-ups. I'm going to go up against the counter. Feel free to go on the ground or on the counter. And if this is really hard for you, you can go up against a wall and push off. Remember, it's early in the morning. You're just waking up. Number 4, let's work some abs. I'm going to do some claps under my knee. I do this for a full minute, right? I'm crunching down. Knee up, crunch in. Clap, clap, that's minute 4. And number 5, again, back on the countertop, I'm going to kick a leg up, alternating, kick a leg up. 5 minutes, guess what? Coffee is done. Now say we're going to make some breakfast, right? So I'm going to take a piece of toast, sourdough, throw it in here. Let me start it. I started it. We're going to do that whole thing again. The 5 minutes, right? Because look what it says. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Minute 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I want an egg, right? Gotta have a little protein. Woo! Can't believe that worked. Now I go and do the same thing again. 5 minutes. I got coffee, I got toast, I got an egg, I got a 15-minute workout in, and if that's all I do today, I'm completely fine with it. Sometimes I actually get more done on the days that I don't have a lot of time than when I have all day to myself. You can't find time? make it. That's the key. I just made 15 minutes right here, and I'm well on my way.
I gotta know what coffee she drinks because her energy level
I
is
know.
exponentially
Yeah.
higher than mine
Well,
at any point of the
it's
day.
because she was doing the under the lead claps, okay? In the
Yes,
kitchen.
and dunking her face
Right.
under a bucket of ice water.
Yeah.
What's your workout? What do you do?
Uh,
Oh, I didn't mean to stump you with that question.
no, I love to play tennis. That's my big thing.
Okay.
Is tennis, and now paddle season starting. You play paddle.
I
platform
played
tennis.
pickleball. I've
Okay.
never played paddle.
I'm waiting till I turn 80 before I play pickleball.
Oh, that hurt.
Just kidding.
That
I'm
hurt.
just kidding. It's fun, but it's addictive. I heard.
It's
like
fun
once you
for
get started.
kids too, not just 80-year-olds.
All my kids are
80-year-olds
golfing.
get hurt.
They're all
doing that.
golfing. They just are obsessed
Which is
with
not
it.
exercise.
Yeah, if you walk the
If you
course.
walk.
Okay.
Tell
Yeah.
my son who thinks he ought to ride a
he's
cart.
he's in the cart.
You gotta. Yeah, I
you gotta
agree with
walk.
you.
And they caddy, so that's even more
Oh,
exercise.
now that's hardcore exercise.
That is. But I understand what she's saying, that if you have too much time, you just can't. It's so easy to procrastinate exercise.
I hate too much time.
I know. Me too. I have to be. I have to be up against it.
Busy is
yeah.
good for us
Agreed.
that have the hamster wheel up there. Well, if you want to connect with us, here are some ways you can do so. You can download the Best of Connecting America each day, wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Connecting America in the search bar, or follow us on social media. And we are everywhere in that capacity: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. No Snap. We should maybe find a Snap account.
Snap.
If you had one social media platform, what would it be?
I would use YouTube.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's take YouTube off the table.
Okay.
I think, give me one between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter X.
I still have MySpace. I'm kidding. I don't. I never had it. I interface with X a lot because I like Grok. Grok is
You
sort of like
do
the
love
chat.
Grok.
I love Grok. I talked to Grok the entire way in.
Conversations.
Yep.
Ah.
I mean, about news stories. Okay, I'm not just.
Yeah. I would actually take LinkedIn if I had one. If I had one social media platform, I know.
I have the only problem with LinkedIn is I do like it for a lot of reasons. The only problem is that you get a lot of unsolicited messages that you think are people you know. There's no differentiation.
It's true.
So that's hard.
Okay. Well, you got our social platforms.
All right. And at the top of the hour, as the diner starts to fill up here, we are going to try to talk to some folks, take their temperature on this Thursday morning.
The views expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of USA Today or its affiliates.
All right, hour number 2, cup number 3 for me. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. I'm Dave Briggs. She is Kieran Chetri. Mark Bonamo is also going to hang out with us and talk to some folks here at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey.
All right, well, 2 people are dead, 1 person injured after a shooting that happened at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement field office in Dallas. Police say there were 3 detainees that were shot, a Mexican national severely injured, and the suspected shooter, 29-year-old Joshua John. Police say that John shot from a nearby building, then took his own life. Bullet rounds that were found near him had anti-ICE messages. The Department of Homeland Security is calling the shooting, quote, an attack on ICE law enforcement. A similar attack happened in July at a detention center near Dallas where a police officer got hurt.
This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities. And I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees.
To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis.
President Trump is also blaming Democrats and left-wing rhetoric for the attacks. And we're joined now by someone named Darren Smallcombe. He is an attorney, an immigration attorney who is based in a suburb of Dallas. And I understand, Darren, that you work with people who go to this facility for their jobs. Did you hear from any of them, and what are they saying?
Yeah, absolutely. We deal with ICE for the last decade on almost a daily basis, whether it's the umbrella of DHS, which covers ICE, and we're in an adversarial position with them because we're advocating for our clients. And of course, they're trying to enforce the law. And I'd like to say, even as an immigration attorney, we unequivocally condemn this violence, this epidemic of violence that's happening against people from a political standpoint. I can tell you that our interactions with ICE over the years have been generally positive. They're on one side of the coin, we're on the other, but generally they're quite fair and reasonable when it comes to dealing with clients. Their job ultimately is to enforce the law, and it's a tough position when you have sanctuary jurisdictions all over the country that are withholding criminals from enforcement activities, and it's a tough deal.
So this is the 3rd incident at an ICE facility this year. By some estimates, attacks are up on ICE agents around 1,000%. How concerned are you?
I'm really concerned for them. These are people with families that are doing their job. They are not Nazis, or as Gavin Newsom called them on Tuesday night, the Gestapo as part of an authoritarian government. The rhetoric needs to stop. And ultimately, these people are just doing their job. These comparisons to everybody that I disagree with as a Nazi is winding up with a lot of people dead. As you mentioned, there's been 3 such incidents. If you include CBP, there's actually been 4 incidents in just Texas since July, and it's unbelievable. And the irony here is that this person went to shoot an ICE agent, but in fact, he hit immigrants that were being detained by ICE. And the irony is not lost because what's happening with ICE is when they're not getting the criminals turned over to them in these sanctuary jurisdictions, they have to go into the communities to extract these criminals. And when they do that, the people that what they would consider a non-enforcement priority are getting caught up. So
Right.
in my experience, when you find one person that's illegal, it's usually more than one that are living together. So when they go in to get the bad guy, they're also getting grandma and sometimes kids. And they didn't want to do that in the first place, but they're left with no choice.
I have a question about the protection, for the people that are coming to work each and every day, like you say, at these places. How was this able to happen in this particular incident?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody's hell bent on murder, they're gonna get an attempt out, more than likely. I mean, you have so many thousands of people that work for ICE. You have so many thousands, if not tens of thousands, detainees. And if somebody really wants to get them, we've seen that with the president, with Charlie Kirk, with others. They're going to. What has to happen is the people that are committing these actions. Um, are being spurred on, in my opinion, by politicians and the rhetoric that, in this case, is coming from the left. And the rhetoric needs to stop.
Mm.
If you go out and tell a million people that your opposition are Nazis and that Nazis should die, then one or two people out of that million are going to hear that message and take action. And that's what needs to stop.
I'm certain you recognize this. There are two sides to the story. I mean, some of the videos we've seen go viral of masked Asians snatching people off the street, pulling them away from their families in broad daylight. This is very concerning for tens of millions of Americans, and you seem to be laying all the blame on one side here.
Well, I think it's fairly laid more on one side than the other, and it doesn't concern tens of millions of Americans. What concerns tens of millions of Americans is that there are tens of millions of people that are undocumented in this country, and that many of them are military age males, and we don't know, what their background is, and they've been let into the country over the last 4 or 5 years. And I say this as an advocate for immigrants. We have countless people that are seeking legal paths that are delayed for, in some cases, a decade. We literally just had a case come up that has been sitting for a decade because of the backlog in the system. And it's unfair. You have to choose who it's unfair to. Is it unfair to the people that are undocumented that may be targeted, or is it unfair to Americans whose resources are strapped, who are in more danger now because we have unvetted people that are out there? And ultimately, if sanctuary jurisdictions were turning over actual criminals to ICE, none of these raids would need to happen. At least they would be minimized to a great extent. And
Are
that's the
you not
reality of it.
are you not concerned? I hear from businesses all over the country who are concerned. Diners like this, for example, all over the country that have undocumented workers at farms, at factories, at diners, at restaurants. Are you concerned about the lack of employees if in fact 10 plus million are kicked out of the country?
Well, I think you make a valid point there, and I'm concerned on two levels as it relates to that. Number one, we're at the highest unemployment that we've had in America in perhaps my lifetime, and particularly with a younger demographic. There's just not jobs out there. Secondly, we don't have a robust immigration system. I wrote a book last summer advocating for a merit based and work based systems where we vet people that want to come into the country to work to be able to do these jobs that aren't being filled by other Americans. And we don't have a comprehensive system that allows this to happen. Our system right now is let's just turn a blind eye to people as they stream across the border because we need workers. We could easily put in a system that works for Americans, that works for the immigrants, that's fair and apportioned correctly.
All right, Darren Smallcomb, immigration attorney, thanks for your perspective this morning. We appreciate it.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel's return was a massive hit despite being shut out of more than 60 stations that are owned by Nexstar and Sinclair. Kimmel delivered the best ratings in a decade in his traditional time slot, 6.3 million viewers on broadcast TV. Compare that to his show, which usually averages about 1.5 million viewers on a good night. That's also massive when you considering he was not seen in 1 in 5 broadcast homes because of that blackout. That includes Seattle, Nashville, DC, Columbus, Little Rock, Arkansas. Viewers in those markets turned to social media to watch his monologue and helped him earn 26 plus million views on YouTube and other social media channels as well. Almost 20 million on YouTube alone already. Despite threats from Trump that he was going to go after Kimmel and ABC, Kimmel said he wasn't going to stop talking about the president, and he certainly will not. And let's just be frank about what late night comedy has always been. It's always been, quite frankly, about political satire. There are questions, though, about the long-term stability of late night. It is tremendously expensive.
Yes, it is expensive, and the return on investment may not be there as much. I mean, in the key demographic, that's the one that advertisers like. We're talking in, the hundreds of thousands of viewers, and that's devastating. That's devastating to
when you're talking
broadcast
about
companies.
250 employees, and I assume a salary, 9-figure salary for
Right.
the host as well. It'll remain to be seen how long the category survives.
We'll see. The most curious reaction, or at least one of them, came to Kimmel, came from Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday, who said that FCC Commissioner Brennan Carr's warning to ABC stations about Jimmy Kimmel was just a joke.
What people will say is, well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero. We believe in free speech in the Trump administration. We are fighting every single day to protect it.
Though, to clarify, Brendan Carr made his now infamous "we can do it the easy way" or the hard way comments about ABC and Kimmel when he was on Benny Johnson's podcast, The Benny Show, conservative podcast. And he did not sound like he was joking. I watched that, and he seemed very serious.
He wasn't joking. He did not laugh. The host did not laugh. There was no laughter. There was no emphasis in any way that resembles a joke. He was clearly saying this to Nexstar and to Sinclair and to anyone else and to ABC. I don't know how the vice president can make that with a straight face. Speaking of joking, but.
Well, we're going to turn now to Amy Kellogg, our foreign affairs correspondent. Ukrainian President Volodymyr. Sorry, I'm thinking Voldemort. That's terrible, but I'm a Harry Potter fan. Yeah. Zelensky addressed the United Nations on Wednesday, warning of what he called a new arms race and also urging world leaders to stay united against Russian aggression. Amy Kellogg joins us now from Milan. Good to see you this morning. What did Zelensky mean when he said a new arms race?
Good morning, Kieran and Dave. Well, first of all, he began his speech with a really serious call out of international organizations like the UN for their failure to uphold the international rules-based order and to stop wars, including his war, the war in Gaza, the war in Sudan. And then he shifted, and in that I might say that he really was not dissimilar to Trump's message earlier in the week about how these organizations are not really pulling their weight to the extent they could be. But this arms race was really quite chilling. We think about arms races in the context of nuclear weapons, but what he said is that because of the nature of this war and the situation Ukraine is in, there has been a need to develop these relatively inexpensive and very deadly drones. And now we've got tens of thousands of new people who are able to operate them. They've been a lifesaver in many ways for Ukraine, but he worries that they will proliferate to such an extent and they're becoming deadlier with greater capabilities every day that at some point it will only be people who control AI systems who will be able to stop them. And though Ukraine has benefited in some ways from having drones, he blames Vladimir Putin for starting this arms race and said this is just another reason for the war to stop now.
Well, it's interesting. Let's go back to the day prior, Amy, when Trump made his long, rambling escalator teleprompter speech. He also reversed ground on supporting Zelensky and Ukraine, but he also made clear time and time again that actions matter, words do not matter. So what actions has the President of the United States taken recently to defend Vladimir Zelensky, to increase arms shipments, or to punish Vladimir Putin?
Nothing, Dave, as far as we know. And again, a lot of people are starting to worry that when Trump, in this very lengthy Truth Social post that he put out, expressing great support for Ukraine and the possibility that Ukraine could actually win this, that later in the tweet he says, "And I wish them all good luck." So a lot of people are worrying now that he's just trying to wash his hands of this conflict. And Zelensky has said a couple of times now that he considers their drones to be in lieu of sanctions, where no really toothy sanctions seem to be going, getting put into place by the United States, the drones that Ukraine has produced are taking out a lot of Russia's oil infrastructure. Apparently, a fifth of its refineries have been taken offline by these drones. So I think Ukraine does realize that it does need to go it alone with support of the European allies. And one last thing that's out there in the mix is $300 billion of Russian money was frozen in Europe. And there are people like Bill Browder and other activists who are trying to get that money turned over to Ukraine so that they can use it in whatever way they see fit. And most likely that will be for buying more weapons from the Europeans. There's been pushback because it's Russia's money, but Russia started this war, and increasingly Europeans and certain activists are saying we need to just take that money and give it to Ukraine to buy weapons.
And what about the appetite on either side between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky? I cannot say that this morning. I'm sorry. To actually
It's early.
get an end to this.
Yeah, the two Vlads. I mean, Zelensky wants this war to end, but does not want to end it on terms that are seen as, that he believes are not fair. And it's a really difficult conundrum because maybe Ukraine could take back some land, but they'll be losing a lot of men in the meantime. And you know, it's a million casualties for Russia at this point, hundreds of thousands for Ukraine. That's between people killed and injured and soldiers. And so they plan to push on as far as we can tell, but there's no sense that there's a real movement for peace in the near future. And I think that is among the most troubling things. And Zelensky yesterday said, the person who has the weapons is the person who wins. Treaties that protect security guarantees traditionally don't seem to work that well. You need good friends, you need good weapons. And I think as much as he wants this arms race to end, he knows that he needs to be armed to the teeth until Vladimir Putin shows some fatigue.
Yeah, quote the president, actions matter, words do not. Amy, thanks so much. Appreciate your insights there. President Trump demanding an investigation into what he calls a triple sabotage during his visit to the UN involving a stopped escalator, a teleprompter failure, and audio issues during his speech. Yes, really. Trump says the escalator to the speaking floor stopped suddenly, putting him and Melania at risk. The president claims the teleprompter went dark and audio was completely off in the auditorium. UN says the escalator stopped due to a built-in safety mechanism potentially triggered by a White House camera person. The Secret Service is involved in looking at all footage, and the press secretary for the President of the United States, Carolyn Leavitt, suggested these are all deliberate sabotage.
Well, I love a good
with the
conspiracy
seal
theory.
of the White House.
Well, first of all, the fact that Melania wearing 4-inch Manolo Blahnik heels just kept it upright, first of all, and then just marched her way up there.
He's right when he
Kudos.
says she's in good shape.
Yes. And number
Not
two,
himself, but
don't mess with someone's teleprompter, right? That can be
turn
a
this
real,
thing off,
real
man.
headache.
He stumbled for quite a bit. It's interesting, yeah. All right, well, more Connecting America when we come right back. Welcome back to Connecting America. Quick coffee news this morning. Starbucks closing 100 stores and laying off 900 employees.
Really?
Shocking, huh?
Yeah.
Big news in the coffee world, and we love ourselves some coffee here. All right, first, though, a reminder from the Social Security Administration. Starting next month, you will no longer receive paper checks. All payments are moving to electronic accounts, and you have until September 30th to sign up. Recipients must switch to direct deposit or the Direct Express card. Approximately 448,000 people still receive paper checks, a massive number. Switching can be done online, by phone, or at local SSA offices, so please check that out as soon as possible. You can also ask your bank to see if they can help send your info to the Social Security Administration. The change aims to improve security, cut costs, and modernize payments.
All right. Well, that doesn't sound like it's going to be easy for some people.
About 500,000 people.
Yeah.
That'll probably not get done in time.
I know.
To say.
I'm with you on that. Well, if the only surfing you do is on your smartphone, our next guest wants to get you moving as well as meeting people in person. Mental health expert Marcy Hopkins joins us with more on. I could not agree more with this sentiment about putting the phone down and reconnecting with others. I see it in my own kids. I see when they are scrolling all the time or looking constantly at their phones, how their mood is versus when they're running along a beach together or doing something outside.
Absolutely. I mean, we feel like we want to be on our phones. I don't care what the age is, but it really does isolate us and it affects our emotions because we're humans. We're wired for connection. We need that. So it is so important that we put down our phones and start engaging with others. And I think it even for me, right? You get lazy, you're sitting on the couch, you're looking at your phone, oh, I don't want to get up. But the reality is when you get up and you start embracing time with other people, you get emotional support, you get to share experiences with others, normalize those feelings, get other perspectives. And when we connect with others, it counteracts that feeling of being lonely or the isolation. And it just gives us a feeling of safety. And when we're having conversation with other people, we realize like we are not alone. There's help out there. And that's what we need. Connection is so important. Social support is.
Yeah, nothing helps my mental health quite like exercise, though I do work out completely alone in my basement and How I Met Your Mother, my friends from that show. How is combining social interaction with exercise beneficial?
Yeah, I get working alone, working out alone, and started in COVID a lot for me,
Yeah.
working out alone. But when we get out and we start working out with other people, let's say it's a group activity, right? That can really boost our mood. It'll get us going, gets us a little more energetic. Find a friend that you can go walk with, right? Accountability buddy. And that really helps because you're having conversation while you are walking, while you are getting that movement, and you are releasing those endorphins that make you feel better, right? We got all these great chemicals in our bodies, and these things are being released to help us with our moods and reducing our stress. And it strengthens our relationships when we do it when we do these exercises with other people. And again, it's about feeling like we are belonging, and it's a little more fun to be with somebody, right? Instead of by yourself in the basement.
It is. It is.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was because of the dress code that you would stay in the basement, right? Because of the outfits you were picking.
In part, yes.
Marcy, I like the whole idea of scheduling it into your calendar like it's a work meeting because we tend to view things that are relaxing or that are wellness for us as optional.
Yeah, I get that. And there's a lot of people out there that need to put things in a schedule to make them do the activity or do whatever it is in their schedule for their to-do list, right? So put it on that to-do list, put it in your schedule. Another one that I really like is social stacking, which is like social time and an activity. And so let's say you're going for a walk and you need to make a phone call. You can multitask, right? Get out there, make that phone call that you need to make, but you're still having the movement and you're doing something that's going to help you to feel better. And you can use small windows. You don't have to overwhelm yourself like, oh God, I got to work out for a whole hour. You don't. You don't have to work out for an hour, and you can start small, and maybe then you can build on more time. And it's just so important to prioritize working out or movement, stretching. It's so vital, not only for our mental health, but for our physical health. And it can help us from not getting sick. It helps with our immune system and diseases. It's something we really need to prioritize.
Pro tip, 20 minutes with the jump rope or burpees. 20 minutes is all you need. Marcy Hopkins, great advice. Thanks so much for being here. All right, let's go over to our friend Mark Bonamo, who's talking to some folks here at the Sunrise Diner. Hey, buddy.
Good morning, everybody, here in the Sunrise Diner. What's your name? Where you from?
Michelle, and I'm from Morristown, New Jersey.
Excellent. So we've all seen the controversy about what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. First, ABC pulls him off the air. He comes back on. Millions of people watch. What was your reaction at first when he was pulled off the air?
I think that regardless of what you feel about Jimmy Kimmel and what he has to say, it's never a good thing to censor somebody, especially members of the media. And I think it's important to defend freedom of speech because that is how we keep our democracy.
Right. One of the things he talked about when he came back, he was very emotional. He was talking about the murder of conservative speaker and activist Charlie Kirk, saying, I never, no matter what I said, wanted to see the death of a young man. How much do you think emotion is playing into people's reaction about this whole controversy?
I think a lot of it's about emotion. I mean, right now we have really escalated political discourse going on right now in our country, on both sides. And I also think that, his response when he did come back on the air seemed genuine. And I liked hearing an apology from him.
Right. Do you think we're going to see more of this? We already saw late night commentator Stephen Colbert lose his show on CBS. Do you think somebody's next potentially in these types of controversies, say Jimmy Fallon at NBC?
I mean, I really think it depends on who is paying attention to the public response to all of this. And I mean, it's not a secret that late night is losing viewers.
Right.
So something like this could help boost viewership and maybe it'll help that situation, but it's really kind of hard to say how things are going to go.
Right. Do you think ultimately, based on what's been going on in the country and how polarized it is, do you think the First Amendment, which is sacrosanct in our Constitution, our society, do you think it's in jeopardy?
I don't know if I think it's in jeopardy. I think that the reaction that we've seen around the nation has shown us that people are ready to defend it.
All right. Michelle from Morristown, New Jersey, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, Michelle
She's
is
coming
on
for our
point
job,
this morning.
man.
Yes, pull
I
up
think
another chair.
She may have a future in television.
Well,
Excellent analysis.
She was great. After the break, we're going to be talking about Hispanic Heritage Month with a special guest right here at the diner, and we'll look at how this year is a little bit different. We'll be right back. Yes.
Welcome back to Connecting America. It is officially the end of an era for the Loyola Chicago men's basketball team. Their iconic chaplain and superfan Sister Jean is retiring at 106 years young. She's stepping down from her role on campus duties due to health concerns. Will not be on campus anymore, but will still be cheering on the team and praying for them daily. She became a viral sensation when the team went to the NCAA tournament in 2018. Started as the chaplain for the men's team in 1994, published a book in 2023 called Wake Up with Purpose, What I've Learned in My First 100 Years. She is truly a saint. I've interviewed her several times. She is one of the great fixtures in the history of college basketball.
Yeah, she
I
does.
love you, Sister Jean.
She's amazing. She's everything with such joy. And you talk about, I mean, 106 years old, still, she's been a teacher, an educator, an inspiration, a chaplain, just really amazing. Congratulations.
Look, we have a special guest.
That's right. We are joined in the diner now by Union County Commissioner, New Jersey Commissioner Sergio Granados. He's here to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. It kicked off September 15th, running through October 15th. Commissioner Granados, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
So we're talking about a time to celebrate and recognize cultures, a lot of the contributions made by Hispanic Americans. Tell us what's going on this year.
Well, in Union County, we celebrate Union County Hispanic Heritage Month. And one of the things when I became chairman a couple years back is instead of celebrating every single ethnicity separately, we create a Union County Hispanic Heritage flag that encompasses every single country that celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month. So we unify as one on this past year was on the 16th. And we came together as communities, Puerto Ricans, Salvadorians, Cubans, and celebrate together because it's all about unity and coming together as one.
How does it feel different this year, given the rhetoric in this country?
Well, we see in general, we have community gatherings, we have food pantries taking place where people aren't coming out as much. They're scared, they're fearful of, ICE raids, etc. There's a lot of people. It's not like the needs not there. We all see the needs there, but the problem is that people are fearful for going outside and the possibility of them getting picked up by, ICE.
It's interesting to when you talk about the fact that there's a lot of unity. There is also not a guarantee that Hispanic and Latino voters are voting Democrat as much. In this election, we saw that there were many more that went over to vote for President Trump. And yet, right now, one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest areas of concern for many in that community is the immigration and enforcement.
Exactly. I saw an article most recently in September, a couple weeks ago, where it basically talked about people being deported, and there's over 100 U.S. citizen kids who basically are left without their parents who got deported, and trying to figure out the status of how you're going to unify them with other family members or getting them proper foster care, etc. So it's a fearful time for many individuals.
You talked about that sense of community in the Hispanic community. And do you feel like we're kind of missing that as a country right now, as everyone's inside scrolling? And what's your reminder to everyone out there?
Well, and I think the most important thing is that, putting down your cell phone. I think so many people look at your cell phone. Exactly. I was over there too, looking at my cell phone also. Looking at your cell phone, get to talk to your fellow residents, get to talk to your neighbors. I think that's one of the great things of so many people in the community when they get to sit down and have a conversation. You might not always agree on politics, on certain issues or topics, but have that conversation, get to know each other, get to see the different viewpoints of one another instead of just reading one side or another side.
Focus on what you have in common,
right?
Not what tears you apart.
What brings us together, exactly.
And when people sit in their silos, especially when they're online, you're not facing other humans, and the humanity seems to get lost. It's very easy if you sit in that world to think that there is no commonality, regardless of different cultures, varying cultures. When I'm walking down the street and when I see people, I feel as though we are, in general, very kind to each other and very accepting of our differences and similarities.
Exactly. I think even when we talk about the raids, et cetera, it's not like just Hispanics are standing forward. You see Caucasians, African Americans. This is something that, get to know your neighbor, talk to one another, because there's so many more similar things that we have in common than things that bring us apart. And I think it's just kind of bringing that back to fruition of letting people know, like, there's a lot of common values. You know, we're all in the U.S. We're all here because we believe, you know, in providing a better future for our families, for ourselves, and just unifying behind that.
That's generally the reason most are here, even though some are demonized. They're here to provide for their families. Tell me about some of the celebrations going on here and around the country, and how everyone should participate.
Well, for Union County, I'll highlight them.
Yeah.
You can visit our website, ucng.org, which has a list of different events. On October 4th, we have our Union County Family Fun Day, which is our Hispanic Heritage Celebration. So we have different cultural performances. We have Hispanic food, of course. We have
Okay, hold on. What types of food?
Empanadas.
Yes.
Oh,
check.
Empanadas.
Have you guys tried pupusas already?
What is that?
So pupusas are Salvadorian. So it's a little thicker than a tortilla, but it's stuffed with cheese or beans, etc. But it's amazing, and it comes with cabbage on the side. And you put it on top of there. It's amazing.
Like
so,
yakima, like
kind of, yeah. So you get to try all these different types of foods. You get to see different culture performances from different ethnicities. You have a Mexican performance, you have Uruguayan, and then also it's all for free. We don't charge for any of our events, so it's a free event. Come out October 4th from 12 to 6, Warren Ankle Park, literally like about 10 minutes away from this diner. So right here in Union County, and it's a great celebration of, like I said before, it's not just geared towards Hispanics, it's geared towards everyone. Let's unify together, let's come together, and no matter what ethnicity you are.
You know, it's all in my stomach. How does food help bring us together? I mean, I'm being serious about this, but the Hispanic heritage, they seem to understand that, I think, better than most.
Without a doubt, I think food, definitely, like you see here too.
You guys look
yeah,
great.
right. But as you see here too, you know, food definitely is something that it's a conversation starter also. You're sitting down, like one of the great things you guys are doing here is sitting at a diner, having a cup of coffee, having a breakfast, and just having a conversation. And I think that's what so many Americans like to do too, is go to a diner, have a simple conversation. And as Hispanics, our love language is basically food. Like that's how my wife got me. She cooks for me, and I was like, okay.
Hold on, what did she cook for you?
Colombian, so she made a bandeja paisa, and I'm like, okay, you're a keeper right there. That's it.
Not bad.
But she's an amazing woman. Yes, she is.
All right, so everybody should come out 12 to 6. When is
12
it?
to 6, October 4th.
October 4th.
And then you can visit our county website. We have a whole bunch of lists of other events taking place also, including at Union County College in Cranford, New Jersey. We have a topic conversation with Senator Ruiz from the state. She'll be there too. Myself, our Commissioner Chair Lourdes Leon, talking about different policies and different activities that are taking place during Hispanic Heritage Month.
What policy is most important right now for the community?
Right now, the most important thing is just basically, well, for the County of Union, we just got finished dealing with a possible ICE detention center in Union County. And we have our county jail that was kind of empty. And, you know, our Union County Commissioner Board kind of stood together and saying, this is not the location to put here in Union County. Because, you know, there's such an uprising when it comes to federal immigration policies. You know, everyone's scared. And we knew that
including ICE agents.
Exactly. ICE agents too. We saw what happened. Exactly. Without a doubt.
Right.
Without a doubt. So we just knew that it wasn't the right location to put here in Union County. So we voted against on our county commissioner board.
Next time, can we do this with some food?
Pupusas, since you haven't tried it yet, we'll try pupusas next time. That's it.
All of it.
Yes.
I love arepas. Do you love arepas?
Yes, I love it all. Commissioner Granados, thanks so much for being with us.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Great to see you. Please come back. When we come back, we'll introduce you to a new co-host, and this one might be a handful. Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back here at the Sunrise Diner trying to connect with Americans, all shapes, sizes, and beliefs. What's your name? Where you from?
I'm from Union, New Jersey. Wally Pakula and my wife Joan.
Joan Pakula, also from Union.
Fantastic. So we've seen all this controversy about what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. First, he's taken off the air. Then he comes back on. You know, what do you think about that? What was right or wrong about that?
I think he's should be back on. It's First Amendment, free speech.
Right. What about you?
I agree. I think that, freedom of speech guarantees the fact that you can say what you feel,
Right.
say what you want, and I think that he was right in what he did. And I think he made a nice comeback, if you will,
Gotcha.
I admire him for that. And a lot of people supported what he did.
Got it. Now, we're in a particularly tough time in terms of how divided and polarized this country are. You know, a lot of the controversy that happened with Jimmy Kimmel was about the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Do you think we're going to get to a time in this country where people are more empathetic in the way they talk to each other? Can we get back to a time where civil discourse is more even keeled?
I would hope we can get back to talk to each other instead of being mad at each other.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to agree and disagree. But you have to have dialogue.
Right. What do you think?
I think that the opportunity to become closer and all we're working for the same goal, peace and so on. And I think it's important that everybody's on the same page. And I think only good can come of it if everybody pitches in and,
Right. Now, the one thing that unites all Americans, it's not blood, it's not language, it's religion, it's the Constitution, it's the First Amendment. Do you think with what's going on in this country and how mean the dialogue has become, do you think the First Amendment's in jeopardy?
Yes.
Right.
I do think it's in jeopardy. I would like to say, though, but I'm a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not agreeing with what's going on with the ability to say what you want to say. You have the right by the First Amendment, and I'm a veteran, so I'm against a lot of what he is doing, the president.
Right. And as a veteran, you feel like, in a way, you served to protect the First Amendment.
Most definitely.
Got it. And what do you think?
I think the First Amendment is what we need. Everybody needs to understand it. And I think that it's part of our government. It's the way things should run by following all of the constitutional laws and things like that.
Great.
Very important.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Let's revisit our question of the day now. We asked you if you'd reconsider taking Tylenol during pregnancy after President Trump's warning about pregnant women and its relation to autism, not proven by the science. Something, again, the medical community disputes this. Yes, 75% of you would reconsider taking Tylenol. 25% of you said no. Please scan that code on the right of your screen. I do want to point out the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, just yesterday said he wants Americans to get their medical advice from their doctors. Now, he didn't contrast or criticize anything the president said, but he did say, I get my medical advice from my doctors, and I would like Americans to do the same.
I think that also part of the yes and no, and if we had more viewer feedback, I think when you're pregnant, you just are nervous
Overly
about
cautious?
anything,
Yeah.
right? So even if it's quote unquote not a cause, if there is any concern that there's a correlation in any way, I think most women, out of an abundance of caution, are going to try not to. Meanwhile, we are joined by our special guest this morning, Lauren Christie and 1-year-old German Shepherd Marlowe. They are from the nonprofit The Seeing Eye. Lauren's the director of canine development for the organization. What a treat to have you guys with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
This was our furry guest host we were talking about. Can we see a picture of Marlowe down there? All right, we'll see him in a second. He's just so docile. My dog would
he's
be
taking a nap now.
my dog would be up licking my face right now, so you would definitely see him.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, laying calmly, unnoticeable under the table.
Yeah, tell us. Oh, there he is. What a doll. The scary part is he is only 1, so.
Yeah, he's pretty rare for his size. He's kind of in our upper percentile of German Shepherd puppies. Even only a 1-year-old, he's about 90 pounds. So
My jaw just
pretty
hit
rare.
the floor. 1 year old.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Tell us more about the Seeing Eye, what you do, and how people can get involved.
So the Seeing Eye, our mission is to enhance the independence and dignity of people who are blind through the use of Seeing Eye dogs. So our dogs are trained to guide blind people around obstacles, to indicate curb crossings and street crossings, and to they're actually trained for traffic as well as a bit of a backup for people who are blind to interfere if there's a car that's
Right. And, it's not an easy task to try to get the puppies up and trained. So first, you have, about 400 annually that are throughout the years that are with foster parents until they get old enough, and then they enter the program?
Yeah, it really does take a village, like raising like a child. There's a lot of hands involved in preparing a dog to become a Seeing Eye dog. So,
That dog is trained on that IR cameras. I mean, very
He's
telegenic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we have volunteer puppy raisers who house the dogs for their first year of life, and they provide the critical foundation of socializing them and teaching them basic house manners and how to be friendly with people, like Marlowe here. And then when they're about 13 or 15 months old, they return to us in Morristown, New Jersey, where they enter formal training with a professional instructor. And that's where they learn the actual guide work on how to keep a blind handler safe. And that's about 4 or 5 months. And then they're matched with their handler, and they're in training together for another month. And we serve people who are all over the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico.
And it's not cheap. I heard that it's about $55,000 per dog.
A bit more than that, actually. Our
Per
last
dog.
calculation was, $70,000. But for our graduates, it only cost $150 for their first dog and $50 for every subsequent dog. And veterans can have a dog for just $1.
That's amazing.
Did you just look at the camera shot
Oh,
of this perfectly behaved?
Born to be
I
in
mean,
pictures.
born to be on camera. So the people watching out here, what can they do? How can they help?
So if you are in the local area, so New Jersey, Southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, or Rockland and Orange County, New York, you can volunteer as a puppy raiser. And we actually are really in need of volunteer puppy raisers. They play a really vital role in preparing dogs like Marlowe for their destiny as a Seeing Eye dog. And if you're not in the local tri-state area, other service dog organizations are also seeking puppy raisers. So I encourage you to reach out, visit our website, seeingeye.org/raise, to learn more about puppy raising for the Seeing Eye. Or if you're not in the area, go to the International Assistance Dog International website and find an organization near you.
All right, we'll put all of those websites up and link them with our site as well. Besides German Shepherds, what else do you also have? Labs and Goldens, or?
Labrador Retrievers, Golden Retrievers, and Lab Golden Crosses.
Okay, well, they're all very sweet, loving dogs and very obedient. Nice to meet you, Marlowe. Nice to meet you. Congratulations.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for joining us, Lauren.
All right, let's check out our National Diner of the Day before we go. We are serving history on a plate with an iconic California eatery, Karen.
That's right, Mel's Drive-In. Right, wasn't that from Alice? Like Mel's Drive-In from Alice. I loved that show. I love Flo. She was the best. They've been around since 1947 in San Francisco and Los Angeles. They were also featured in the movie American Graffiti. Known for its all-day breakfast, plus burgers and shakes, and you may even spot a celebrity once in a while if you are lucky. So
that looks fantastic.
I know. Shout out to Mel's Diner.
Did I see chicken and waffles there?
That looks
I'll just
amazing.
keep playing this on loop for 2 hours.
Oh my
Onion
gosh,
rings.
I love those.
Sign me up. I haven't had a good onion ring in years.
So delicious.
What's the one absurd thing that you'd eat for breakfast that's like, could you eat a burger for
Yes,
breakfast?
I could.
I could too.
Sometimes I just like the only thing that'll hit the spot for me is spaghetti.
Spaghetti?
Yes,
in the
sometimes.
morning?
Yeah, I just need it.
I could eat
Love it.
spaghetti pretty much 7 days a week.
Yep.
Pizza,
Cold
spaghetti,
pizza.
burgers. All right, you may even spot a celeb once there if you're lucky. All right, so if you'd like to connect with us or follow us, find us all over social media. You can find us iHeart, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., and the best of Connecting America available each day wherever you get your podcasts. And here are our social feeds, Karen.
Yep, that's right. You can check out Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, of course, our YouTube channel, Connecting America TV, and on X as well. It was great to be with you this morning.
Very
see
much
you tomorrow.
enjoyed it. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye. We'll just sit here and grin. Sometimes I think I should just pretend to be frozen.